we are not alone here in the studio. We go over to the Greg Powers Memorial Power Zone to welcome in our college football insider, Shehan Jeyarajah. What's up, man?
Nothing much. I always forget that it's the Memorial Zone. It's weird. I don't like that. I feel weird. I feel like I shouldn't be here. But hey, what's up?
Pay homage to our mountain that is Greg Powers. So, like we said, this baby sent to press. We revealed the cover with the A&M defense on it, and head coach Scott Surratt, the Lord of the Rings out of Carthage. We've sent this to press. We're done with it. We're excited for you to get it. But until then, we obviously want to go in, and you have a big say in who you think should be on the cover. So first off, just for people to hear your perspective on it, why was the A&M defense the perfect people to be put on the cover?
Yeah, well, I'll start off by saying I am a little surprised more people did not guess this. Not necessarily the defense. I mean, obviously, it's been a while. I mean, it's been 2007 since we've had a defender, 1998 since we've had a defense-only cover. But to me, this was an obvious choice. You see Texas A&M go 9-1. You see them win the Orange Bowl. You see them finish top 4 in the country. I mean, the first time since 1939 that they finished in that top 4. I mean, this is a Texas A&M team that I think is on the precipice of doing something really big. And you look into next year, they bring back so much of their production. They do lose a quarterback, and I do think for a lot of people, losing Kellen Mond was a reason that I think that they maybe didn't think that A&M was going to be the team on the cover. But look, football is a 22-man game, and I think that you look on the defensive side of the ball, some of the biggest stars in the state of Texas, I think, play on that defensive side of the ball. Obviously, DeMarvin Leal, who's on the cover right now. And I think that we got to meet some new guys who are going to maybe be breakout stars of next season. Damani Richardson, Michael Clemens, Miles Jones. I think that's – I mentioned this. I think that Michael Clemens hopefully will be the breakout star of this issue after seeing him.
I mean, look at this man.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Did you see – and if you haven't, go find Shehan on Twitter because he tweeted out a video of him doing what it looked like to see him actually scream and doing it.
It's something.
I almost peed my pants just sitting there watching that happen. I was like, can you imagine this guy charging at you full speed?
It doesn't sound fun. And think about it too, right? Like they got like 6 guys like that on that Texas A&M defense, right? I mean, you were talking about a defense that jumped from, around the 100 range back in 2017 or whatever it was, Kevin Sumlin's last year, to now being a top 10 defense in 2020. And so, I also think it's appropriate, right? Like I mentioned, the last time that we had a solo defensive cover was 1998 with Datwin and, part of that wrecking crew defense, part of that lineage. And so I think it's really appropriate that now heading into 2021, we're by no means saying that the wrecking crew and this defense are exactly the same thing, right? Stylistically, they're very different. And the wrecking crew, I mean, that's a 13, 15-year period, right? Like that's not one season. But at the same time, I think that we're starting to see the emergence of what could be a new wrecking crew. It's going to look different than those old ones. It's going to feel different. It's going to win games differently. But, at the same time, I think that we're seeing that this is coming, that this is the moment. And in some ways, I think we're calling our shot. We're not saying that 2020 was the reemergence of the wrecking crew. We're saying it's coming. 2021, 2022, 2023, it's about to happen.
Absolutely. And here's something that I know Tepper and I had talked about on the show on Friday when we released the cover. But when we went in there, we were like, oh, yeah, y'all are the next wrecking crew. And all the guys kind of, I mean, you specifically sat there and talked to them. We did the interviews with Tepper and them, and they were like, hey, we respect them. Like, we absolutely understand the greatness that they produced here. But the real fact of the matter is, we want to be our own crew, and that's kind of where the new crew headline came from. But were you at all surprised about that of just, no, man, that's them, we're us?
Yeah, I think that the great thing is that what they talked about most, talking to, those 4 players on the cover, talking to some other people, is that it's not that they want to turn the clock back, right? They don't want to try to relive the glory days per se. But I think that what they do have, and one of the reasons that I thought that the new crew motto was a really good headline was, I think that they are taking lessons from that crew. They want to do some things. They want to embody a personality that you saw with that old wrecking crew, right? They want to have the swagger. They want to own the game. They want teams to not be able to run anything against them, right? I mean, one thing that you heard from everybody talking to that old wrecking crew defense was, we didn't care what kind of offense you were running. We were going to come after you. You were going to have to adjust to us. And I think that you look at Texas A&M's defense, and they are aggressive. they have swagger. You know, I mean, I think that you see that obviously on the cover, right? Like, you know, these are some great personalities. And I think that those are the parts of this that are so similar to that Wrecking Crew defense. Now, look, again, it's not the same. The Wrecking Crew was built out of a 3-4. It was built around attacking linebackers and shut down corners. This defense is more built out of attacking defensive linemen, which I think you have to do in the SEC. It's so, you know, it's its own style, it's its own swagger, it's its own thing. But, you know, I think at the same time, talking to a lot of people from those old defenses, they would really embrace the defense embracing that nickname. Again, it's not the same. They're not the same defense. They're not the same Wrecking Crew. But I think that they think it would be really cool for Texas A&M fans who love tradition, who love kind of looking back and connecting the past to the present.
That is a tradition-rich program, to say the least.
That is a tradition-rich program. I think that, you know, talking to R.C. Slocum, talking to Chet Brooks, who came up with the nickname Wrecking Crew, he thinks if they feel like they have earned that nickname, if the fans feel like they have earned that nickname once again, they'd love to see it used again.
Absolutely. And so obviously you write so many words for this magazine. There's no denying.
Big part in it.
Yeah.
But
I sleep in June.
Yes, exactly. But the most cumulative words that you put together is for that main feature where we focus on the cover subjects, and you got to sit down with the guys when we were there. And I don't want you to give away everything that you put in that, because hey, subscribe and get the magazine so you can read Shehan's words. But giving people a little bit of insight into going behind the scenes when you got to sit down in that room and talk with those guys, what can they look forward to in reading the main feature?
Yeah, I think that, you know, kind of what I was mentioning, you know, just I think that this team in so many ways is the kind of team that Texas A&M fans fall in love with, right? I mean, you look the last 10, 15 years, obviously there have been some great offenses that have come through Texas A&M. I mean, Johnny Manziel, all that sort of stuff, right? But I think that Texas A&M and their fans and their people, I think that they embrace defense, I think, in a unique way. You know, maybe TCU might be another comparison, like, but, you know, in a unique way, I think, in the state and nationally, I think. I mean, and it goes back to those days, you know. I think that the fact that we're sitting here talking about the Wrecking Crew 30 years later just says so much about what that unit accomplished and also what Texas A&M fans have embraced. And so I think that the big thing that I would say, right, is that there's been so much talk about the offense. There's going to be, I mean, I'm sure.
And they're in the SEC, so that always leans into the offensive side of stuff even more so.
Right, and there's going to be, I mean, we're going to talk, I'm sure, for hours on end about the quarterback battle, Haynes King versus Zach Calzada. We're going to talk about, you know, Kenyon Green, a potential All-American. But I think that for this team to have success, and this is a big part of what the story is about, for this team to have success, it's going to have to be the defense leading the way. Not because the offense is incapable, but because I think that this defense is so good that they're able to own games, that they're able to win games for Texas A&M. They're able to set a floor, I think, in a way that we haven't seen at Texas A&M in a while. You know, for several years there, right? It was 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, right? I think that with this kind of defense, when you play defense like this, I don't see another team outside of Alabama and maybe LSU in the West that's going to be able to compete with that, right? And so I think that if Texas A&M wants to go where they think that they can go and where I believe that they can go, it's going to be led by that defense.
Well, and I think you got to look at it, too, I mean, what a better time to have that resurgence of a traditional, hard-fighting, hard-hitting A&M defense when you do have this, you know, fragile spot at quarterback of going, well, it could be really good. We know what both of those guys can do, but it also could be a bust. So being able, I feel like that leniency in those first couple of games, giving them the time to really figure things out, is going to be absolutely crucial.
Well, and I think the funny thing about it, too, is you look at the SEC right now, like you mentioned. I mean, Alabama, high-flying, you know, for the first time in a long time.
I've never heard of them.
Right. Ole Miss, you know, with Lane Kiffin and Jeff Lebby, very high-flying. Mike Leach, obviously a traditional air raid coach. I think that in a funny way, Texas A&M right now, by kind of doing some similar things that we've seen in the SEC, I think that they're zagging. You know, they're kind of doing something different. I think it's going to be difficult for teams to prepare for. And, I mean, you look at 2021 specifically. I mean, you have so much depth on that defensive line. You have so many returners on that back end. I mean, obviously, a guy like Damani Richardson, I think Damani Richardson wasn't particularly healthy last year. I think he's going to be one of the breakout players in college football this upcoming year. DeMarvin Leal, potential first-round pick. Michael Clemens, a guy who's going to be drafted next year. And, obviously, Miles Jones, I think, stepping up as a 6-year cornerback. I mean, there's so many pieces on this Texas A&M defense that I think are going to be difficult matchups. And I think that to play against offenses that we see these days, this is what you need. You have to be able to win with 4. You have to be able to man up receivers. You don't have to shut down receivers, right? I mean, you're playing against the Devontae Smiths of the world, but I think that the ability to man up, to make things difficult for opposing offenses, like you mentioned, I mean, they're definitely going to need more than just sort of competence at that quarterback position to be a national title team. But I think that, like I mentioned, it sets the floor so low when you have a defense that's able to constantly keep you in games. You saw that in the LSU game last year, right? I mean, Texas A&M's offense really, really struggled to get off the ground for a variety of reasons, and that defense was just like, it doesn't matter. You're not getting in this game, LSU. Like, this isn't even going to be a conversation, right? And they end up, I believe, every game after the Alabama game, they win by double figures, right? So, I mean, that's, I think, the floor for this program in a lot of ways. And so I'm excited to see now, with expectations, with the new quarterback, what can they do?
Right. I couldn't agree more. And another thing I wanted to hit on real fast, because I've heard you do a couple of different interviews with other people, and you love to say that we gave some faceless guys a face. And I think that is spot on the best way to describe that, because you do. You hear Texas A&M defense, you say DeMarvin Leal. Everyone knows, undisputed, he is the star of this program. But to kind of hit on your behind-the-scenes piece that you wrote on TexasFootball.com, which if you haven't read, you absolutely should go read. Very good piece. But kind of, we were both there. And for me, it was really cool to see this guy that we didn't know a whole lot about, like Michael Clemens, and go, this guy is a beast. And he's got a personality for days, and just... for me, that was really, really cool to see that from the behind-the-scenes perspective. And you're someone who was also there. Yeah.
And I think that for me, it's very simple. I think that the coolest part of covering college football is getting to know people, right? More than anything else. And I think that, for a variety of reasons, media access and interaction with players has gone down. And so I think for us, getting to kind of go behind the scenes and shine a light on these guys who are just some of the coolest people, obviously, that you'll ever meet, and getting to see them kind of do their thing, all 4 of them being there, kind of encouraging each other, having fun with it. Like, it's just, that's what college sports is all about, right?
Yeah.
It's getting to know these kids, getting to know these people. I hope that comes through in the cover. I mean, I really think it does. I think that it's one of my favorite covers, no question about it. And I hope it comes through as well in the way the story's written. And I hope that when you watch this team play next season, when you see Michael Clemens make a sack, or when you see Miles Jones have a pass breakup, or Damani Richardson intercept a pass, like, I hope that you look at that and you think, man, I learned something about these guys through the story that I wrote, but also just through the cover and what we were able to kind of show you guys. Because they are humans too, and that's what we forget so much. We think about them as nothing but athletes, and that is the really, like, even just thinking back to sitting there and watching them loosen up as the shoot went on and stuff like that, or make jokes with us, or, any of that. You can even see that in the behind-the-scenes videos that you made, that they've got personalities and, that they are people, Yeah, and so that's very cool. And real fast, before we close this out here, I got to ask, I know there were some funny parts of the shoot and all of that. Is there one moment that you're always going to look back on and go, that was a great moment at the photo shoot? Which I think I know where your answer is. Yeah. So I was interviewing Michael Clemens, and he's obviously the big yelling one, right? And so I was talking to him, and Mike is awesome. I mean, Mike again, all of them were fantastic, but again, I think Mike might be the breakout star of this whole deal. But I was talking to him while DeMarvin Leal was doing his shoot, right? And so I was just talking to him. He's kind of soft spoken, but gets into it. But then DeMarvin did his version of the scream, right? Like, it didn't make the cover, but we did that with every single one of them, right? And I think we have a photo in the magazine of all of them yelling together. But so DeMarvin does his scream, and Mike Clemens gets up, oh my god, what's going on? And then stands up and runs across it, because he's just like, what just happened? And so we had to take a legit 2-minute break just for Michael Clemens to collect himself. And it's so funny because he is this. You can see it. Humongous. He is humongous. If I tweeted out a screenshot of him standing next to Tepper, and Tepper's a 6'1", normal size guy. He's not small by any means, and it's he looks like a second grader compared to this guy. Yeah. And he goes,
Bro, like he was so freaked out, and it was so funny. But that's great. Well, again, Shehan, appreciate you hopping on with us, and all the work that you did for the story. It's really good. The main feature is good. I hope that you will subscribe and read it.
Yeah, and I did count. I think my first year that I did this, I wrote over 30,000 words. So please, please reward us with whatever, $11.95 or $30 for a subscription. Please.
Please.
I did not sleep at all in April. I'm begging you.